Hi, this is Claire and Gracie, and we're going to be teaching you guys about limits involving infinity. So first we're going to do a limit involving infinity when x is approaching 0, and the equation we're using is 1 over x, so we're just writing out the equation here. And the first thing that we're going to do is make a table of all the x values that are getting close to 0. So we're going to be using small decimals like 0.1 and 0.001, and then the f of x output when you put that in for x in the equation. And so we're just going to write that out. And as you can see, as the x values are getting smaller, the f of x outputs are getting larger. So that means that the limit as x approaches 0 is infinity. And now we're going to do the same thing, but with negative, or x approaching 0 from the negative side. And what we're just going to do is turn all the values to negative, and then you'll see that instead of, it's basically the same, but instead of approaching normal positive infinity, we're going to be approaching negative infinity. So now we are going to do the limit of the same equation, but instead of x approaching 0, it's going to be x approaching infinity. So we're just going to make a table of the values like we did before, and but instead of the x values getting closer and closer to 0, the x values are going to be getting closer and closer to infinity, since that's what it's approaching. And as you can see, the f of x outputs are getting smaller and smaller as the x values are getting larger and larger. So that means from this table you can tell that the limit of f of x as x approaches infinity is 0. And when you turn everything negative, which we're going to do here in a second, it's basically the same as what we just did with when x was approaching 0, but it's going to be approaching negative infinity, so you just turn all the x values negative, and the f of x outputs will turn negative as well, and then you still come out with it approaching 0. So now we're just gonna do a nice visual representation here so you can get a better sense of what's going on. So as the graph is being drawn, you're going to notice that it's two asymptotes, a horizontal and vertical asymptote, that is. And so as on the y-axis, as it's getting closer and closer to infinity, as you can see on the orange line, it's going up on the y-axis. So as it's getting closer to infinity, it's getting the outputs are getting closer to 0, and you can see that in the graph. And then here, when on the x-axis, when it's getting closer to 0 on the x side, it's approaching infinity. So there's two asymptotes on both the x and the y-axis when it's 0. and when x is approaching 0, the limit is undefined. Thanks for watching. Bye.